Ada sat behind the counter of her small tailoring shop in Accra, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through Instagram. The needle she had been threading fell to the floor. There, on her phone screen, were engagement photos that made her heart stop beating. Samuel, her Samuel, smiling wider than she had ever seen him smile, his arm wrapped around a woman who sparkled like diamonds in the afternoon sun. 5 years ago, they had shared a tiny room in Nima with walls so thin you could hear the neighbors breathing. Ada would wake up at dawn to fetch water, while Samuel promised her the world. "One day, my queen, I will build you a mansion," he would whisper into her hair at night. Then her father died. Everything changed that Tuesday morning. Samuel became a stranger overnight. His eyes grew cold, his words sharp as broken glass. "This poverty is killing me, Ada. I cannot do this anymore," he said. By Friday, he was gone. No note, no explanation, just emptiness where love used to live. Ada had cried until her tears dried up. She picked herself up, learned to sew from Mama Akojua next door, and slowly built her small business. She survived on gari and groundnuts for months, saving every sadi to buy her first sewing machine. Now, 5 years later, Samuel had resurfaced. Not to apologize, not to check if she was alive, but in engagement photos with Grace Mensah, daughter of the woman who owned the biggest textile import business in Accra. The caption read, "She said yes. Wedding bells in December." Ada's hand moved to her chest. Samuel didn't know. How could he? He never called, never looked back. He didn't know about their daughter. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She tiptoed into the small bedroom where 4-year-old Alma slept, her tiny chest rising and falling like ocean waves. Ada brushed her daughter's braids gently. Alma had Samuel's eyes, his smile, his dimples. "My sunshine," Ada whispered. "At school, they call you names because they think you have no father. But you do. Soon, everyone will know." She pulled out an old shoebox from under her bed. Inside were letters Samuel had written on torn notebook paper. "You are my heartbeat, Ada. I will never leave you. Our children will have the best life." Ada laughed bitterly. Lies. All beautiful lies. The next morning, she visited her friend Ya at the market. "I'm going to Samuel's wedding," Ada announced. Ya nearly dropped her basket of tomatoes. "You want to do what?" "I'm going. Not to fight. Just so my daughter's father can see what he abandoned." "Sister, that girl's mother is Mrs. Mensah. They have money and power. Do you know what they could do to you?" Ada stood tall. "Let them try. I have nothing to lose, yeah? Samuel needs to know he has a daughter. After that, what he does is his business, not mine." Meanwhile, Samuel stood in front of a mirror at the expensive boutique in OSU. His wedding suit fit perfectly. His phone buzzed. It was Grace. "Baby, only 2 weeks until our traditional ceremony. Are you ready?" Samuel grinned. "I was born ready, my love. My mother wants to give us the house in Kumasi as a wedding gift. Plus, she is transferring one of her shops to my name." Samuel's heart raced. "Seriously? Baby, your mother is an angel." When the call ended, Samuel danced alone in the fitting room. This was it, his golden ticket. He had escaped poverty, left behind that life with Ada in that terrible room. Now he was marrying into wealth, into respect, into the life he always deserved. He had no idea that Ada was planning her own entrance into his perfect new world. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Hit that notification bell so you... December arrived with harmattan dust and anticipation. The entire neighborhood in Tima had been talking about nothing else for weeks. Samuel and Grace's wedding was the event of the year. The compound of Mrs. Mensah's mansion was transformed into paradise. White canopies stretched across the yard like clouds. Tables groaned under the weight of jollof rice, wache, fufu, grilled tilapia, and kelaweel. A live band played high-life music while photographers captured every moment. Grace sat in her dressing room, surrounded by makeup artists and bridesmaids. Her kente cloth was custom-made, gold threads woven into intricate patterns. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. "Finally, I'm going to be Mrs. Samuel Osei." Her mother, Mrs. Mensah, stood outside directing caterers with the authority of a general. Security guards in black suits stood at every corner. This was her daughter's day, and nothing would ruin it. Samuel arrived in full Ashani traditional wear, gold accessories gleaming in the sun. People cleared a path for him, singing his praises. He walked like royalty, sunglasses hiding eyes that darted nervously around the crowd. Outside the compound gates, Ada stood with little Alma. Ada wore a simple but elegant Ankara dress she had sewn herself. Alma wore a matching outfit, her hair plaited neatly with colorful beads. As they approached the entrance, whispers erupted through the crowd like wildfire. Is that not the tailor's daughter from Mima? What is she doing here? They say her mother went mad before she died. Madness runs in that family. Ada held her daughter's hand tighter and walked forward with her head high. Inside the ceremony area, Grace was about to make her entrance when Mrs. Mintz's voice cut through the music like a machete. What are you doing here? Everyone turned. Ada stood at the gate with Alma beside her. Grace's smile faded. Mother, what is happening? Mrs. Mintz pointed at Ada with disgust. Security, remove this woman immediately. But Ada's voice rang clear and strong. I came to see the man who promised me heaven and earth. The crowd gasped. Samuel's face turned the color of ashes. Grace, don't listen to her. Samuel rushed forward, his voice shaking. This woman is mentally unstable, just like her mother was. I have never seen her before in my life. Grace looked between Samuel and Ada, confusion clouding her face. Samuel, who is this woman? Ada stood firm. I am the woman Samuel lived with for 3 years. And this, she lifted Alma's hand, is his daughter. Our daughter. The silence that followed was deafening. Samuel's voice grew louder, more desperate. She is lying? Baby, please believe me. She is trying to destroy our happiness. I don't know this woman or this child. Mrs. Mintz stepped forward, her face hard as stone. This girl is just a beggar looking for attention. Guards, remove her now. Grace's hands trembled. Part of her wanted to believe Ada, but Samuel was her dream. She had imagined this day since she was a little girl. She turned to her mother, tears forming in her eyes. Mother, I don't know what to do. Mrs. Mintz pulled her daughter close. Don't let this nobody ruin your life. She's probably running mad like her mother. Samuel is a good man. He is perfect for you. Grace's face hardened. She gestured to the guards. Take her away. Both of them. The guards grabbed Ada and Alma roughly. As they dragged them toward the gate, Ada locked eyes with Grace. You can throw me out, but you cannot throw out the truth. Samuel, you are this child's father, whether you accept it or not. Samuel rushed to Grace's side, relief flooding his face. Thank God. Baby, I told you she was crazy. Let us continue with our ceremony and forget this ever happened. But as Ada was pushed through the gate, Grace stood frozen, watching. Something in Ada's eyes haunted her. It was not the look of a liar. It was the look of a woman telling an uncomfortable truth. Still, Grace pushed the doubt away. The music started again. The ceremony continued. Samuel held her hand tightly, whispering sweet reassurances. That night, after the celebrations ended and guests went home with full bellies, Grace lay awake beside her new husband. She stared at the ceiling, unable to shake the image of that little girl's face. The girl had Samuel's dimples, his exact same dimples. The first 3 months of marriage felt like a dream. Grace woke up every morning in their new house in Kamasi to Samuel kissing her forehead. He would bring her breakfast in bed, help her choose her outfits, and post romantic photos on Instagram with captions like "My Queen" and "Blessed beyond measure." Women commented on every post, relationship goals. I wish my husband was like this. You are so lucky, Grace. Grace's mother handed over the textile shop in OSU, and Grace threw herself into expanding the business. Within weeks, she opened a second location in Takoradi. She launched a fashion line featuring African prints and even started planning a YouTube channel about entrepreneurship. Meanwhile, Samuel stayed home more often, always smiling, always helpful. He tasted her new fabric samples and gave opinions. He answered her business calls when she was busy. He had access to everything. her passwords, her bank accounts, her business documents. Far away in her tiny shop in Nima, Ada wiped sweat from her face as she finished hemming a customer's dress. She refused to let bitterness consume her. With help from Ya, she focused on raising Alma and building her tailoring business one stitch at a time. She had written one final letter to Samuel, leaving it at his old address. He never responded, so Ada closed that chapter and looked forward. But back in Kumasi, paradise was beginning to crack. It started small. Samuel's phone would ring at odd hours. He would glance at the screen, smile tightly, and step outside. "Baby, I need to run to the warehouse." "Supplier issue," he would say, grabbing his keys. Grace believed him. The first time, the second time, even the 10th time. Then she noticed he had changed his phone password. When she asked why, he laughed it off. "Security, my love. You know cybercrime is everywhere." One evening, she came home early from the shop and heard him on the phone in their bedroom. "My sweet girl, relax. Soon, everything she owns will be ours. I just need her signature on these papers. Once she signs, it is over between us. Then it will be just you and me." Grace froze in the hallway. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. She tiptoed to the kitchen, pretending she had heard nothing. But as she chopped vegetables for dinner, her hands shook uncontrollably. The woman's name was Naomi. She was from Lagos, sharp-tongued and beautiful, with ambition written in every calculated move. She had met Samuel at a business conference in Takoradi during one of his fake trips. Within a month, Samuel was paying for her apartment, her hair appointments, her expensive tastes. But Naomi was not satisfied with being a side piece. She wanted more. "Your wife is rich," she said one night as they lay in her apartment. "Why are we hiding like criminals?" Samuel traced circles on her shoulder. "She is very rich, baby." Naomi leaned closer. "Then stop wasting time. Do you want me or not?" "I do, baby. More than anything." "Then prove it. Get me what I deserve." Together, they hatched a plan. Samuel would convince Grace to sign over her properties to him for tax purposes. Then he and Naomi would disappear with everything, leaving Grace with nothing. It was risky, but Samuel had done this before. Different women, different cities, same pattern. He was good at playing the devoted husband while plotting his escape. One Thursday evening, Grace sat in her car outside her OSU shop, ready to drive home. But then she saw something that made her blood run cold. Samuel was getting into an Uber. He had told her that morning he was flying to Abuja for an emergency meeting. Yet here he was, in Accra, sneaking into a car. Grace followed the Uber through traffic, her heart racing. The car stopped at an expensive hotel in Airport Residential. Samuel walked in like he owned the place. Grace parked outside and waited. 1 hour passed. 2 hours. 3. Night fell. And still, Samuel did not emerge. Tears streamed down Grace's face. She had been married for barely a year, and already her husband was with another woman. She drove home in silence, her mind numb. When Samuel returned the next morning with his overnight bag, claiming his meeting ran late, Grace simply nodded. "Welcome home," she said quietly. But inside, something had shifted. The scales had fallen from her eyes. A week later, Samuel came home with an envelope and a bright smile. "Baby, my lawyer gave me amazing news today. If we want to protect our assets from any future problems, we should sign this insurance document. It will safeguard everything we have built together." Grace took the envelope, her face neutral. "Insurance document?" "Yes." Barrister Kwame said, "It is the smartest move we can make. Just sign here, and we are covered for life." Grace opened the envelope and glanced at the papers. "Let me read it properly before signing tomorrow." Samuel's smile flickered but held. "Of course, baby. Take your time." That night, after Samuel fell asleep, Grace photographed every page and sent them to her family lawyer in Accra. The response came the next morning: "Do not sign. Your husband is trying to transfer full ownership of your businesses and properties to himself. This is fraud." Grace's hands trembled as she read the message again. Samuel was not just a cheater. He was a thief. But now, Grace knew exactly what to do. Grace became an actress overnight. For the next 2 weeks, she played her role perfectly. She cooked Samuel's favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, kissed him goodbye every morning. But behind her smile, she was building a fortress. First, she changed all her business account passwords. Then she contacted her bank and froze their joint accounts. She hired a private investigator, a sharp woman named Annie Serwa who had 20 years of experience catching cheating husbands. 3 days later, Auntie Serwa delivered a brown envelope. Inside were photographs that confirmed everything. Samuel and Naomi at restaurants. Samuel and Naomi at the hotel. Samuel and Naomi in bed, limbs tangled together like rope. Grace printed every single photo. She placed them in a white envelope with gold lettering that read, "For my beloved husband." She waited for the perfect moment. On a Saturday morning, Grace told Samuel she was traveling to Takoradi for a business expansion meeting. She kissed him sweetly and drove away. Samuel watched her car disappear, then immediately called Naomi. "Baby, she just left. Come over now." That evening at 8 p.m., Grace returned home quietly. She parked her car down the street and walked to her house in the darkness. Upstairs, she could hear music playing softly in their bedroom. She pushed the door open. Samuel and Naomi were in her bed, wrapped in her sheets, living their fantasy in her home. The music stopped. Time stopped. Samuel's face went from relaxed to terrified in half a second. "Grace, baby, I can explain." Naomi sat up, trying to cover herself. "Baby, oh, is this woman?" Samuel stammered. This is my wife." Naomi's eyes went wide. "Your wife? I thought you said she was just your sponsor. You said you were leaving her." Grace dropped the white envelope on the dresser. Her voice was calm, colder than harmattan wind. "Continue what you were doing. When you finish, pack your things and leave my house tonight. And Samuel, don't take anything with you. I bought everything here with my own money, including your clothes." Samuel jumped out of bed, falling to his knees. "Grace, please let me explain. It was the devil. I don't even know this woman like that. You are the only one I love." Grace laughed. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound of broken trust turning into steel. "Love, you wanted to steal everything I worked for. You thought I was a fool." She clapped twice. 2 security guards entered the room, men she had hired that afternoon just for this moment. "Escort them out. Both of them. Strip them of anything that belongs to me." Samuel tried to grab his phone, his wallet, his shoes. The guards blocked him. Naomi screamed and tried to run, but they caught her too. Within minutes, Samuel and Naomi were standing outside the gate in their underwear, holding nothing but their shame. Samuel shouted at the closed gate, "Grace, I am your husband. I will sue you for this. You cannot treat me like this." Grace appeared at the upstairs window. Her voice carried across the compound, loud enough for all the neighbors to hear. "Samuel Osei, you were my biggest mistake. If I ever see you near my property again, you will sleep in jail. We are done." Neighbors peeked from windows. Some recorded videos on their phones. By morning, Samuel's humiliation had spread across social media like fire in dry grass. Big man Samuel Osei caught cheating. Samuel the scammer finally exposed. Wife throws cheating husband out naked. Samuel went from living in luxury to having nothing in one night. He tried calling his family, but they refused to help. "We warned you not to marry her for money," his brother said. "Now deal with the consequences." Naomi? She was long gone. She had blocked Samuel's number and moved on to her next target. It turned out she had 3 other men funding her lifestyle. She had never been faithful to Samuel either. Samuel begged friends for a place to stay. They let him crash on their couches for a few days, then asked him to leave. When he had money, he had forgotten them. Now that he was broke, they remembered. He ended up renting a tiny kiosk near the lorry station, selling fried yam and Planet passengers. Whenever someone he knew passed by, he would turn his face away in shame. Months passed. Samuel's appearance deteriorated. His beard grew wild. His clothes became ragged. His stomach constantly growled with hunger. One evening, as he sat on a wooden stool watching people buy yam from other sellers instead of him, a memory hit him hard. Ada. Before Grace, before the lies, before everything fell apart, there was Ada, the woman who loved him when he had nothing. The woman who would borrow money just to make sure he ate. The woman who believed every promise he made. Maybe if he went back to her, explained everything, begged for forgiveness, maybe she would take him back. With shaking hands and a heart heavy with regret, Samuel made his way to Nema. He remembered where Ada used to sell roasted plantain near the school. When he arrived, Ada was closing her tailoring shop. It was bigger now, with a proper sign and display window. Little Amma sat inside doing homework. Ada looked up and froze. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Samuel fell to his knees on the dusty ground. Ada, please forgive me. I was stupid. I abandoned you and our daughter. I have learned my lesson. I am ready to be a father now. I have changed. Give me another chance. Ada stared at him. Her eyes held no anger, only sadness and something else. Finality. Ada looked at the broken man kneeling before her. This was the same man who once made her heart race with joy. The same man who destroyed her with his abandonment. The same man who denied their daughter at his wedding. Chuka, she said quietly, using the pet name she used to call him. You left me when I needed you most. You left me pregnant and alone. While I was still processing your betrayal, you married another woman and called me crazy in front of everyone. Tears ran down Samuel's face. Ada, for the sake of our child, please. I was young and confused. I made terrible mistakes. Alma came to the door, holding her mother's hand. She looked at the crying man with curious eyes. Ada squeezed her daughter's hand, then looked back at Samuel. You are not a father. You are a lesson. Some men don't deserve second chances. Some men need to live with the consequences of their choices. She picked up her bag, held AMA close, and walked past Samuel without looking back. Her head was high, her steps steady. Samuel remained on his knees, watching them disappear into the evening crowd. He had lost everything, including his last chance at redemption. Meanwhile, Grace threw herself into her businesses with renewed energy. The pain of betrayal became fuel for success. She opened 2 more shops, launched her YouTube channel, and became a speaker at women's empowerment events. Know your worth, she would tell audiences. Never let anyone make you feel small, especially not someone you invited into your life. One afternoon, as Grace reviewed inventory at her OSU shop, a staff member approached nervously. Madam, there is a woman here asking to see you. She says her name is Ada. Grace looked up, surprised. Ada? Send her in. Ada walked in wearing a simple dress, her daughter beside her. She looked nervous but determined. Mrs. Mensah, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Grace stood and smiled warmly. Please call me Grace. Sit down. They sat across from each other, 2 women connected by one terrible man. Grace spoke first. I want to thank you. If you had not shown up at my wedding, I would have been completely destroyed. You tried to warn me, and I was too blind to see it. Ada shook her head. I just wanted my daughter to know she has a father. I also wanted to save you from the heartbreak I experienced. Grace reached in her bag and pulled out a brown envelope. I have been looking for you, Ada. I want to offer you something. Ada opened the envelope. Inside was a job offer letter. Manager position at Grace's flagship store, with a salary that made her eyes widen. Plus keys to a furnished apartment in a good neighborhood. Madam, I cannot accept this. It is too much. Grace took Ada's hands in hers. Yes, you can. You deserve it. You were brave when I was not. You protected your child. You try to protect me too. This is not charity. This is recognition. Tears filled Ada's eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Amma jumped excitedly, even though she did not fully understand what was happening. She just knew her mother was happy. 2 weeks later, Ada walked into the flagship store wearing a professional suit she had sewn herself. She greeted her staff with confidence and checked the day's sales reports. Customers loved her attention to detail and warm personality. Amma enrolled in a good school. Their new apartment had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and even a small balcony. For the first time in years, Ada felt peace. One evening, as she walked home from work, she saw Samuel sitting by the roadside. He was selling pure water from a cooler, looking exhausted and defeated. Their eyes met. Ada could have walked past with bitterness. Instead, she stopped, bought a bottle of water, and placed extra money in his hand. No hard feelings, she said softly. Life has a way of teaching us all. Then she walked away, her heels clicking on the pavement like a victory song. Samuel watched her go, understanding finally settling in his chest like a stone. He had chased wealth and lost everything. The women who truly cared for him, he had destroyed. The ones who pretended to love him had used him. Now he had nothing but regrets and a cooler of water. Grace continued building her empire. Ada flourished in her new role. And little Alma grew up knowing that her mother was a queen who never needed a king to wear her crown. As for Samuel, he learned the hardest lesson of all. You cannot build happiness on lies, and you cannot find love where you plant deceit. Sometimes life gives second chances. Sometimes it gives consequences. And sometimes the women you underestimated become the ones who rise highest. The end. Thank you for reading this story. If this touched your heart or taught you something, please like this video and share it with your friends, family, and anyone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about love, betrayal, and redemption. Drop a comment below telling us what you learned from Ada and Grace's journey. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story. Remember, know your worth, protect your peace, and never let anyone dim your light. See you in the next story. God bless you.